Equipment when you're getting started. What's going on? Family Black Feniks checking in, the owner of HogOn Welding and the founder of HogOn University. Today I wanted to talk to you about the welding equipment because of a few people asked about getting started on what they should buy. And I had also witnessed people who have jumped it into the welding field and got started and they actually bought equipment that they really didn't need, or they spent too much, or they got the wrong thing thinking they needed to do this. So a lot of times it's good to know what you need when you're buying your equipment, knowing what type of equipment you need, knowing what type of work you're going to be doing, and that way you can get something suitable for you for that job. Now, when I got started, I want to make a public announcement. I'm gonna say, when I got started, we was welding on some old Lincoln machines, the ones that you wind up. You know what I mean? And it was a stick machine. Machine burned very well. And then we moved to a MIG machine, and it was an older wire feeder. And it was like I said, we did straight wire with that one, and it was a DC machine. And then the only new machine that they actually had was the TIG machine. It was a water cooled TIG machine because it did aluminum, stainless, and steel. I actually got a TIG machine, but I don't do aluminum right now. I don't have a machine that do aluminum, but I can do aluminum. But when getting started, like I say, we started on something small, and I had been on many shops with older equipment, and I had been to some shops that actually had newer equipment. So when it comes to welding and using different equipment, I'm almost say, I can almost say it's just like riding a bike. Once you learn how to actually ride a bike, the process is a whole lot easier. Like, you can actually jump on any bike. It might have an extra couple of gears than the one you started riding, you know what I mean? But it's pretty much the same. So it doesn't really matter what machine or machinery you start out with as far as how you learn. Now, when you're doing certain jobs, having better equipment is actually going to help you. You know what I mean? I have seen people use a lot of different welders in the field that works. Me personally, I mostly stay between Lincoln and Miller. I've used a lot of them. I've used some ESAW units. I've used some, I guess, some big red welders. You know what I mean? But on the majority scale, it's always been Lincoln or Miller. I have used some welders from Home Depot; those work as well too. I've used some of those Chicago welders, and I had made them work. That was flux core. So it all depends. If it works and you're a welder, you can be able to transfer your skills over. So it really doesn't matter if the equipment is brand new or if the equipment is used. You know what I mean? So don't get caught up in thinking, well, I got to learn on some new equipment, because a few of my students is actually working in Dumas right now. I trained them with the 180 machine and the 140 machine, wire welding, and they're doing, I think the machines there are like 240 or 220, something like that, 250 volt. I think that's like, yeah, they run, yeah, it's about 250, I believe, Lincolns, or a little bit bigger than that, but they Lincoln units, and it's pretty much, they're just doing the post spray transfer, pretty much pushing it. So learning from this actually helps them transfer that over, and that's one thing that he said. He was like, man, what you taught me, it was actually what they're doing. It made it a whole lot easier and simpler for me to actually learn the process. So learning, just learning the skills, man, that's what it's all about, family. So don't get caught up on what equipment you learn from, what welding hood you use. Man, they got all kind of welding hoods. I started out, the one they had us in the shop was just a straight, I think it was like a Jackson hood, I believe, with a number 10 shade. It wasn't no auto darkener or nothing like that. So, as you make money, you can start getting things. I had someone also ask about a letter apron for the students, and honestly, to me, that's something I do have, and I was like, if you want to get one, you can buy one, and I give it to them to use. But it really doesn't take all that. Sometimes when you learning things in the field, you have to learn. There's nothing wrong with learning the rough way. Now, once you start investing money in yourself, you can make things easier. I do have one when I do fabrication. So when I'm doing fabrication, I do have a leather apron. When I'm doing a lot of fabrication. But teaching, I think that it's cool that it's okay to get burnt a little bit. It's okay. And this student actually, he don't have any boots at the moment, but I just told him to use some shoes that he had that he didn't mind, messing up. And he had a pair of leather shoes. I just said, don't use no cloth ones, and I think you'll be okay. Since we're doing this process, it's not a whole lot with the MIG welding process, so we're not burning real hot since we're using short circuit transfer. So we're not burning real hot. So he can be able to kill several birds with one stone. But once he do, I told him to get some steel toes. What boots to buy. But sometimes we tend to be hard and judgmental on people getting started, man. Everybody got to get started different, especially when it comes from our culture, because Dr. King said something. He had a conversation with a man and said, we need to pick up ourselves by our bootstraps and make something happen. He was like, but black natives, African Americans, black people, we don't have any boots. We wouldn't have any boots in America. We was just walking on shoes, so we don't have no boots to tie up and strap. We had to get things the hard way sometimes. So, there's nothing wrong with struggling. So some of us never had a lot of things. I grew up and went to households where I seen them say that they couldn't cook a cake because they didn't have a cake pan. And I'm sitting there looking like, man, I remember growing up, I didn't even know what a cake, I seen some, but they're just making it in whatever they had. I'm like, we're just making it in whatever, it's still a cake. It might not be fancy, but it still works. So, maybe just being, growing up in rural areas and growing up with not having, the best of things, we learn to make the best out of things. I grew up on hand-me-downs where, we'll get clothes from different cousins, or my grandfather get clothes hand me down because he was the garbage man. Honestly, he went around and he drove the truck, and he met a lot of people. And sometimes people will give him their hand me down. Some good people he know might say, "Hey, I got a lot of clothes from my son. Just grow up. We're gonna pass them down. Don't want to throw them away. You think your grandkids could use them, So I grew up like that, and we did the best with it, man. We cleaned them, we pressed them down. We did the best with what we had, man. And I think that we can't get sidetracked with getting started with our equipment. You know what I mean? So think of that too, man. It's good to just start with what you got. But once you start improving, you can always improve and get better and better. That 140 unit, I really like that unit because it's a multi-processor. I can actually teach MIG, TIG, and stick with that unit, and I can use it in the field. A lot of my students that I teach also be wanting to go into independent welding on their own. So, the 140 multi-processor or a 140 regular MIG is one that I always prefer them getting and teach them on, because that way when they get one of that size they can be able to use it. So it's always a means to an end on why I do certain things, you know what I mean? So that way they can be able to get familiar with the equipment. But it really doesn't matter what you learn on. Like I say, that stick welder, the stick welder is actually a stick and TIG welder, and it's a 250. So I can actually burn with that one, you know what I mean? But I use it when I'm doing TIG welding and stick welding. So, and then, use the 180 and the 140. It just all depends. Normally, like I say, the 140 can do the same thing the 180 do. It just depends on how thick the metal is. I can burn actually one pass up to a half inch with that one, you know what I mean? So half-inch thick. So it all depends on what you're doing, especially when you're using flux core. So it's just different process you got to use. But I think starting it doesn't matter. Just get started. Find you something that you comfortable with. Get you some. I would say those who getting started, man. If you can find some on Facebook Market, the yard sales, Craigslist, offer up, pawn shops, whatever you can find you one, man. Find you a deal and just get started, man. Like I say, I bought that 140 new. That actually was a present of mine the beginning of the year of last year. And I wanted one and I can kill several birds, because with that unit, I like it because I can do a lot of installs with it, ornamental installs when I'm doing gates, fences, repairs, things like that. It's lightweight, easy to carry. I can plug in. It's actually a 110 unit, so most place you go to got a 110. So you're killing several birds in one stone. So that's why I like that one. The 180 is a lot heavier. That's a real heavy unit. You don't want to carry it around all the time. You know what I mean? If you ain't got to. But that 140 is a good jump in, get you some money, and move on. So everything got a means to an end. But like I say, just get started, family. Don't worry. Don't get caught up on what type of equipment, what the name is. Like I say, I use what I like. And like I say, I like Lincoln, but I actually mess with all different kinds of welders. When it comes to the field, I've used shop welders. When it comes to the field, I've used a lot of Miller welders as well. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for everybody checking in. Thanks for checking in. Like I say, man, my goal is to just teach people how to get started. Sometimes we get caught up with thinking we got to have this or that, and we really don't, family. You know what I mean? I don't want a student to get discouraged and feel like, oh, I got to have this, because I done been on job sites where they didn't have none of the things that you thought you had to have. I remember being in school and they saying, oh, it's going to be like this, and it wasn't like that. And I remember the welding instructor I had also talked about that. He was like, you know what? When you get on the job, everything is going to be different. It's not going to be like this booth. It ain't going to be comfortable. You ain't going to be able to sit down all the time. You might not do this. It might be that. And literally, it's like that. I done had welding jobs where I made good money, but they shop was outside. It was an outside shop. The equipment was out there, just had a canopy on top of it to keep it from raining on us. In Phoenix, because it didn't rain a lot, and it worked, and that's what the guy had. He had a shop out. He had an outside shop. Out there you can have it because the weather didn't pretty much get bad. It was pretty much all around decent weather, so that's how he rocked it, and it worked. So you can't say how you can get started, fam. You can't get caught up in thinking, oh, I got to buy this unit. Oh, I got to get that. Oh, I got to get this. You know what I mean? Just get started. Don't worry about the name on it. None of that. You know what I mean? And all of that is just branding. Once you get on, you can put your name on it. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of it is just branding, man. But there's a lot of good units. There's a lot of good prices. But I would say if you can find something used, I heard Cat Williams say one time, I like buying used things because they've been tested and proved that they work. So I like buying used things, you know what I mean? So I'm cool with it, you know what I mean? So I just say, man, just get started. Don't get caught up and spending big dollars on things. You don't have to break the bank to get started, man. It does take a little money, but it doesn't take you breaking the bank to get started, man. You can start on your bare minimum. And I'm going to be honest with you before I let y'all go. When I first got started, my independence, when I first got my first welder, I paid, I want to say I spent $300 for that unit. I spent $300 for a 140. 135 actually. It was a 135. The new version. The 140 was the new version. It was the Lincoln 135. And I got started with that, family, and I started making money. I was doing little repairs. I was welding on bikes, like whatever. I was making money. So you can't say, that you can't get started from something small if you got the skill. If you got the skill set and you're a go-getter, you're a hustler, and you're willing to network your skills, hey man, you can make some money. You can make something happen. So don't get caught up in thinking it got to be one way, because it really don't. So I just want to say, check in, just let you know, like I say, this is what I use. This is what I'm using at the moment. My goal is to expand, but like I said, I've been buying stuff on my own. I still have my work stuff that I use, but my goal is to just take things one day at a time. But what I got, I could actually change some lives, and I've already had. I've got some work, I have made some money, and it's still working. And as the old folks say, if it ain't broke, why fix it? You know what I mean? So, we're going to keep it moving. But I just say, man, just look into a way to get you started, save some money. Look online. There's a lot of deals now. There's a lot of deals when you're buying your equipment now. A lot of deals. There's a lot of different places you can actually go to. Want to give a shout out too, though, for Lincoln did send me the schools. I contact them. They did send me the posters for my school. So I got my posters. All my posters came from Lincoln Electric. Give them a shout out for that. And I actually got some tools, some strong hand tools. So they hooked me up. I got a few things from them. Got some more stuff. But I got a few things from them that I've been using. I got a lot of stuff in this toolbox. This is my firebox. Like I said, I use this in the shop and in the field. I kill several birds with one stone with this box. And stuff that I made myself, like this welding cart. Depends on what I'm doing. I put everything on this one, and I use it where I can roll around the shop if I need to, because I made this to kill several birds with one stone. When I'm teaching, I'm using it, at home. But my goal is to get a shop going. But I'm not knocking that. I'm still changing lives with what I got. So you use what you got to get started, fam. So, I could have said, hey, you know what? I ain't finna start teaching nobody till I got me a room with an air conditioning, and I got everything I need and this and this. But I said, nope, I'm finna start teaching now, and I'm gonna use what I got So what I did, instead of this being a carport, 'cause this was a carport, family, I'll show it to you. These two houses right here is identical. It was made like this with a carport, and I enclosed it. I enclosed it so that way I can get my hog on. You know what I mean? So like I say, y'all, it's all about utilizing what you got, turning your idea into a product. You know, so don't get caught up in how you do it. Just get started, fam. You know, the longer you procrastinate, the longer it's going to take you to get things off the ground. So I would say just get started. Don't worry about name brand things. You know, even when it comes to clothing. You know what I mean? I used to get so caught up in thinking I had to have certain kind of style. You know, once I got out spending money on certain things, and I realized it was vain. So, you know, I just need to get what I need and stay clean, and I'm cool with it. You know, so I came up with a hashtag, and I called it Clean 101. It's all about being clean. I ain't really representing them, I'm representing me. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing we have to learn. So once you buy something and you tweak it, it's yours. You can turn it to whatever you want. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Don't get caught up and spend a whole lot of money. You don't have to break the bank. But I will say it will take a little money to get started, but just network. Use your bare minimum, open up a door, get your hog on, family. I'm out. Y'all be blessed.